guys, just a quick warning up here, there is some graphic images in this video. And yes, I suck at looking at the camera in this video, I'm sorry. Cassyak back again with another video. Today is a different video. It's going to be more personal to me. I'm going to talk about a condition that I have. It's called Eosinophilic Esophagitis. Yeah. Eosinophilic Esophagitis. Eosinophilic esophagitis, right? Most people just call it EOE because it's easy. It's a part of the group of EOS conditions, which revolves around the esophagus. It's a pretty hard thing to say. When I meet people, I do actually pull out the eosinophilic esophagitis and I just like to see their reaction. So EOE is an autoimmune disease, which means that my immune system reacts to anything that goes in my esophagus. The actual condition itself is white blood cells or eosinophils, which coat the esophagus and cause inflammation, hence eosinophilic esophagitis. So basically, my esophagus is always inflamed with these little white blood cells. The other thing with EOE, the esophagus can sometimes look like that black ridged piping that you'd use in your garden for irrigation. Yeah, gross, right? A common problem most people have when they have EOE is they will either have trouble swallowing or food will get stuck. Most of this is a texture issue. For example, some people will have a lot of trouble swallowing bread-like foods. So breads and cakes and maybe even pastas. Just because the esophagus doesn't like it and rejects it, and so it'll get stuck, and quite often regurgitation is needed, which is not fun, and in some super severe cases a trip to the hospital to get it removed is actually required. So this condition can be quite varied depending on where you sit in the spectrum. Rice is a thing for me that gets stuck often. Even if I chew it a lot, sometimes it'll just get stuck because it just gets stuck. And people find it hard to believe me when I say that yeah, it's stuck, but no matter how much that I chew it, it's not going to make a difference. Well, maybe a little bit, but not enough that you as someone who doesn't have EOE would understand. Yeah, so rice gets stuck for me, and chicken also. If it's a bit dry, if the chicken's a bit dry or just doesn't really break up very well, chicken gets stuck for me as well, and I've had to regurgitate sometimes for chicken. And yeah, that's a bit gross, I'm sorry, but it's the reality of this condition. With all that, most people with EOE also have allergies and intolerances on top of that as well. So not only can they not eat food that might get stuck, but they can't eat food that will cause them an allergic reaction or discomfort if it's an intolerance. People don't realize how much the world revolves around food until you can't eat something. You might say, oh, let's go and do something that doesn't involve food, like go bowling or something like that. But at some point, you have to eat. At some point, you will get hungry while you're there. And most people will be like, oh yeah, we'll just go get food on the way back. We'll find something, you know, I don't know, get Macca's or something. And someone with EOE and allergies is freaking out because there's nowhere that they can eat. Most of the time there is nowhere. Some people, they can have some things in certain places, like if we go to Macca's, I can get a patty, just a patty by itself, and that's okay. But other people, I mean, if you're on a strict elimination diet, that pretty much eliminates everything because you cannot trust restaurants to do what you ask them to do. Anyway, another video. So I want to talk about my experience with EOE. I was diagnosed in 2007 sometime, which is just over 10 years now. How it got discovered was I've always kind of known that I've had this issue with dairy. Like, I'd have cheese or something on my chocolate, something along those lines, and I would get stabbing pains in the chest. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Stabbing pains in the chest, that's normal. No, not heartburn. No, not reflux either. Like someone has grabbed a knife and is just... And it could be an hour. It could be 2 hours. Up to 8 hours I've had it. 8 hours of stabbing in the chest. Now, it's not like one constant, like, really intense pain for the whole 8 hours. It'll be intense for the first hour, and then there'll be like random peaks where all of a sudden, like, it feels like someone's going like this with my esophagus, with like maybe little bits of glass in there, and just like going like this. So it's just like this kind of constant uncomfortable feeling, and then all of a sudden be like, and then, you know, continue with that, and then for 8 hours. Of course, no one believed me when I was like, what was I, 12. No one believed me when I was 12 that I was saying I'm getting stabbing pains in the chest. It's like, oh, it's just reflux, you know, whatever. It took me after, I think we had pasta bake. We might have had ice cream, I'm not sure. I was just curled up on the couch, crying in agony. It was so painful. It took that for my mom to finally go, okay, maybe we should see a doctor about this. Like, it's not normal after eating food to be like crying on the couch because it feels like someone's running a knife up and down your chest. So we went to several doctors and they're all like, oh, sounds like you've got reflux. I'm like, no, it's not reflux. Like, if I drink fizzy drink, it helps it. Fizzy drink wouldn't help reflux. That's a bit acid. Finally went to a gastroenterologist. Try and say that 10 times really fast. She did a endoscopy, which can mean either end, but it was this end, guys, this end. Mouth down, camera down my throat. And did a biopsy as well. Oh, the other thing that I should mention is, before this endoscopy, I was supposed to eat everything that would normally cause me pains in the chest, right? So that's anything with dairy. So I think I had pasta bake, I had chocolate, I had ice creams, I had magnums, which is like the worst kind. That soft ice cream is the worst kind of ice cream for me. Nothing. I didn't feel it in my chest, nothing. Which was bizarre, but in the scope, it was really, really inflamed. And fast forward, I have EOE and a dairy allergy. Allergy, not intolerance. There's a difference. I'll go through that in a different video. And a mild intolerance to wheat. So that is the point where I stopped having wheat and dairy in my diet, so 10 years ago. That's easy. Well, it wasn't easy back then because there wasn't a lot of wheat and dairy free foods back in 2007. It was kind of becoming a new thing. The dairy part was the hardest part because there'd be a lot of gluten-free things, but they'd still have dairy in them, and then I couldn't have them, so it was like, But now there's a lot more things. So one thing that people don't understand about this condition is that the constant inflammation in the esophagus can cause scarring and then cancer in the future. So people with EOE, if they're reacting all the time, it is really not a good thing. Because you can get scar tissue and then you can get cancer. My EOE is not as bad as some. Some people have to get a feeding tube, which means that they don't actually get to eat anything. And some people have to live off a liquid diet with this Necotate stuff, which is like baby formula, to get all the proper vitamins and nutrients. And that really sucks. It was Feeding Tube Awareness Week recently. And like, I just see so many kids, young kids who have these feeding tubes, and it's just sad because I've been able to eat food before, but these kids may never actually get a chance. And of course these kids grow up to be adults, and there's adult feeding tubes and stuff like that as well, and it's just, it's not cool. This condition is, I don't even know, it's why does it exist? My allergies were getting, well, not allergies, my reactions in like the stabbing pain thing. Turns out it's not just for dairy. There's these proteins in foods, amines, salicylates and glutamates. Most people with EOE will have sensitivities to 1, 2 or all 3 of these things. I have sensitivity to all 3, and we figured out early on that I had an amine issue, which is things like cheese and chocolate. Yeah, you're saying, oh, both of those are dairy, but cocoa in the chocolate, pork, tomato, that sort of thing would all cause stabbing pains in my chest. So yeah, it was getting worse, and I was popping antihistamines every day, pretty much after most meals, because I was just constantly in pain. So I went to the RPA allergy clinic again 2 years ago, and I've been on the elimination diet since. It was good for the first year because I got to a good baseline where I wasn't really reacting as much. But then I decided to take December off because Christmas and Christmas lunches, and it's a hassle to provide food for me basically, because if you've ever seen the strict elimination diet, it's worse than being a vegan. That's all I can say, it's worse than being a vegan. Yeah, I took December off the diet, and I spent all of 2017 trying to recover from it, and I'm still not well. 2018, still recovering from 2016 December. And in the last 2 years, turns out I have a few more allergies as well. Like, somehow I'm allergic to potato as well. Potato. How? I have no idea. I don't know. Also, stress can increase the amount of reactions. There's still not a lot known about this condition. There's no cure. So there are quite a few organizations which are trying to work on finding a cure and figuring out what the actual heck this is and why it happened. Tagline is Eosinophilic Esophagitis. It's hard to say, but it's even harder to live with. So to all my EOS buddies out there, keep pressing on. Like, I know it is hard, and for some of you it's even harder for you than it is for me, and my heart honestly goes out to you, because like even I get down and struggle with it sometimes, and my condition's not as bad as others. I really hope that we find a cure one day, because yeah, it's a struggle. People will never understand what you go through unless they have it. Keep pressing on, keep doing every day, keep being awesome, prove everyone wrong. I have done another video on my allergies and intolerances as a separate thing, because it's related but it's kind of different, and I have a bit of ranting to do on that side of things. As always guys, thanks for watching and have a great day. I hope to see you at the next video.